While I hate to say it, some hikes just don't live up to their reputation. Fortunately, this is not one of those hikes. Welcome back to another episode, guys. In this episode, we're going to be hiking up to Panorama Ridge in Garibaldi Provincial Park. So we'll be leaving from the trailhead at Rubble Creek, hiking up to Taylor Meadows to drop off our bags and set up camp. And then from there, we'll head up to Panorama Ridge, back down to Garibaldi Lake, and then finally back up to Taylor Meadows to camp overnight. The weather forecast is looking good, with clear skies and highs of 27 degrees C. There's no wildfires of concern burning nearby, so I think we're ready to roll.
Alright, let's go team.
Given today's temperature and the lack of shade up in the Alpine, we've also packed an extra litre of water each and marked glacial streams and creeks along the route. The densely forested switchbacks on the way up to Taylor Meadows aren't the most scenic by any stretch, but you gain elevation and reach the Alpine quicker. At the end of our first push, we'd made it about 2/3 of the way to our first checkpoint at Taylor Meadows. Spirits were high and everyone was in good shape, so we didn't hang about and opted to take a longer break once we'd secured tent beds. We meandered through the final 50 metres of tree line before bursting into a beautiful alpine meadow. We'd arrived at our first checkpoint and our campsite for tonight, Taylor Meadows. Using a site map of the area, we quickly gathered our bearings and picked some unoccupied tent pads further down the meadow.
Yeah, these are both in the shade. Sweat.
With tents up and day packs ready to go, we hung our food and toiletries up in the trees and got ready for part 2 of today's hike. The next leg of our hike will consist of a gradual 800 metre incline the first 6 kilometres, followed by a steep 1k climb up a scree slope to finish on top of Panorama Ridge. In order to help make these videos possible, we've recently launched a limited line of high quality apparel. Every cent of the proceeds goes directly to funding new episodes and will help us grow the channel to do bigger and better adventures. Do us a massive favour and go check it out at thecedarcabinsociety.ca. Now, let's get back into the film. Although there were a few nice spots along the trail so far, in my opinion, the real hike starts now. Wildlife thrives in Garibaldi Park, including mammals such as grizzly and black bears, mountain goat, deer, marmot, and the pika. A number of birds are also present, including the American woodpecker, the raven, the Canada jay, and many more. quickly reached the intersection in the trail where it forks left to Helm Creek and right to Panorama Ridge. For those interested, Helm Creek is another designated campsite that's accessible just below the Checamoose Lake. It's 8 km point-to-point hike and an elevation gain of roughly 850 meters from start to finish. Garibaldi Park has an incredibly rich geological history and forms part of the Garibaldi volcanic belt. It forms the northernmost segment of the Cascade Volcanic Arc, which includes Mount St. Helens and Mount Baker. Most volcanoes in the Garibaldi chain are dormant stratovolcanoes or subglacial volcanoes that have been eroded by glacial ice. It really is an incredible place, so it's not hard to see why it's one of the most popular hikes in the province. With the last of our rocky switchbacks almost complete, we'd finally made it to the awe-inspiring Panorama Ridge. We honestly could have spent all day up there, but it was almost 4 PM and we still had another 7 kilometers to cover to make it back to Taylor Meadows via Garibaldi Lake. With a little over 16 kilometers already covered today, we pulled over at a fast moving stream to filter and refill water bottles ready for the rest of the hike. After dropping out of the Alpine on our way down to Garibaldi Lake, we took a quick dip in the glacial water to cool off and help with muscle soreness. It was then back on the trail again to finish our final leg back to camp at Taylor Meadows. It was a very quiet hike back to camp that evening, and you could tell that everybody was out of gas. Thankfully, it was only a 2.5 kilometer trail and we already had everything set up at camp. There's also a province-wide fire ban in effect right now, so we opted to pack light and leave the majority of our cooking gear at home in favour of dehydrated, boil-in-the-bag meals. And just like that, our trip was over. It was time to lace up our boots, pack our bags, and hit the trail. Alright guys, we're almost back at the Rubble Creek trailhead now. It's been a really cool hike, so thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. Yes! Good work, team.